Hmm. Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here with you in the Love is the Way group again. And today we're leading up to the session on Sunday with the theme of passion and pleasure, finishing off the theme that was all the month of February, the month of love, of course. And we do have a guest that I'm bringing on as promised. And I'm always amazed at how many ways there are to bring movement to inside to our core, to our emotional self, our soul, our deepest held grief and trauma and pain that sometimes is hidden, but it's still there, and to transform that into emotional freedom. And as you know, the golden tool that I use the most is the emotional freedom technique, the tapping, which is evidence-based. And the evidence on that one, which really helps all our work, is exploding lately. But today you're going to be hearing from my beautiful colleague, Larissa, and she'll share some tantric ways and other ways to get more blissful pleasure in life. And Larissa is a shamanic priestess. She does coaching and body work and much more. The list is too long. She's been doing this a while, and she facilitates our sacred femininity, which being women, I guess we're all about. And sometimes in the do world, we kind of lose sight of that. But Larissa will definitely bring us back today. And one more unique thing about Larissa's technique is, and she won't be doing that today, I know, but just an interesting fact here is that she moves trauma using horses. And I believe that stems from her relationship with horses and her own trauma. And I believe horses bring her much pleasure and passion in her life as well. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Larissa. And Larissa, I guess you can unmute yourself and we'll see you there.
Hi.
And welcome.
Thank you for that beautiful introduction.
Oh, you're welcome. Beautiful introduction for a beautiful woman. And as we all are. But I see you on the social media, the stories and so on. And I think between being in beautiful places and mastering the technology, I think, you just create these beautiful visuals. And I really appreciate that. And I hope some of you get the chance to get that on Larissa's media online. So Larissa, our theme is passion and pleasure, and you see pleasure as a way to heal, I understand, and maybe from past sexual trauma or whatever people are healing from. And that's such a beautiful thing to happen. And can you explain just briefly how that works?
How that works. Okay, so traumas happen from so many things, right? From childhood trauma to relationship trauma, sexual trauma. And, women tend to go through so much sexual trauma. My trauma was very heavy. I was married to someone who was very abusive, and at a very young age, just really had no coping mechanisms and no tools. And so I lived my life from this place where, it's kind of like a wounded animal. When an animal gets wounded, they become a little bit aggressive, right? And there's this constant defense around them. And then it's hard to go back into relationship.
Well, I just interject for 1 second because I just listened to something on the Tapping Summit is on this week, and there was a speaker talking about anger and how we learn it's not safe or proper to express our anger, but the speaker was talking about how natural it is, and giving the example of animals, and that they come out with they can be like really really grumpy and so on when things like that happen, and they're trying to process their anger
Right.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And we are animals.
Yeah.
We have that. And we also have an intelligence that allows us to start healing that so we can, come into our hearts again and trust our bodies, our inner guidance and our wisdom, which is just like how animals communicate, horses specifically through feel and intuition, and they know how to keep themselves safe by how they feel in their body, right? They can sense like a hungry tiger versus a fed tiger,
Hmm.
right? Which is the same with us when we're so integrated in our bodies, we can sense like, does this person have our best interest, or are they a safe person for us? And then if the body says no, then we go the other way, right? And so, my trauma has, I've done years of counseling. I love my therapist. She was absolutely phenomenal and amazing. And I did years of acupressure and body work to go in and heal. And, I found that the one thing that really supported my healing was healing with pleasure.
Mm.
And I've
Oh, that's
reflected on
good
that.
thing. So I'd like to hear more about that and sort of the benefits of that.
How and why? Yeah. So when we're traumatized and we speak about our trauma, it can just re-traumatize the body. We go back into that place of, right? So the body stores trauma.
Interesting because with EFT, the idea, and that's a lot of people get confused about that, is they're afraid to bring it on because it's scary, and it can, like you say, hurt them, like
Yeah.
re-traumatize, and could be very unpleasant.
Right.
But the whole idea of in your counseling or what you're going to tell us about it, the idea is to go into the pain, but you transform it so that you come out feeling pleasure, and clear the trauma, really, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
Continue, please. I just
Of course. Yeah. So when there's so many layers to it. For one, reclaiming the body. So reclaiming the yoni is very,
Can you
it's
explain that for the
what
aware,
yoni is.
uninitiated? Yeah.
So a yoni is a vulva. It's the female genitalia, and it's the Sanskrit word, which means sacred space,
Hmm.
flower of enlightenment, mysterious gate. And it has all these beautiful words.
So much nicer than some of the words you've heard to refer to that part of our anatomy, right?
Totally. And I think there's a lot of power in reclaiming that, right? Really knowing that your body is like such a sacred portal for all of the medicine that you need.
My
Right?
yoni is thanking you right now.
Yay. So, when I found my Tantra teacher, I was like so incredibly wounded. I mean, I was, I had massive anxiety, massive depression. I was struggling financially. I was like homeless at one point,
Wow.
right? So very, very traumatized. My ex-husband ruined the relationship between my daughter and I for 4 years, and I hadn't seen her.
Mm.
So it was unbearable pain that I was experiencing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was, I went to therapy and did all the things that I could do. And what I found was when I started doing the meditations, which just allowed me to go into my body and relax and start to heal my body from the inside out. And when I started doing the breath work, which I'm going to show you at the end, it began to clear. I was getting sick all the time, which I was never sick before. I was very healthy. So, the grief became too overwhelming, and I got sick every 6 months, and I would be in bed for about 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah. And I don't know if you're like me, and all of us actually doing energy work is we, and mind body work, which both of us are doing, that we see that when there's certain manifestations in the body of dis-ease, which the medical model calls disease, but I see it more as, dis-ease or out of balance or sickness. It's the body's way of trying to help us, to give us a signal and say, hey, we need to do something. And so that's the more positive way of looking at it, although it doesn't feel very pleasant at the time. But that's the whole point, is to help us, right?
Yeah, the body's an amazing messenger, right? So I was doing this breath work, and it actually began healing my lungs. At first, it felt like there were these little tiny building blocks, the little wooden blocks in my chest. And then as I, started doing the breath work more and more, I haven't been sick in 3 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You listened and you found a way. And it sounds like your way was quite intuitive.
Yeah.
In other words, we all know.
It's true.
I just listened to the energy medicine queen of the world, I think.
Yeah.
that I know. And oh my God, I'm just forgetting her name for a moment. But yeah, I mean, she's just one of those sensitive people that it's like the animals. I mean, the other animals that, she can't help but feel it. We've kind of distracted ourselves and lost a lot of the feeling of the energy and emotions, got into our head a lot. But she reminded us that we all do know how, we've just lost touch with it.
Right. Yeah.
So you kind of got, what your healing was, getting back in touch with, the felt sense, the intuitive sense of what's going on.
And back in touch with the body, right? Where all the wisdom is. So when I started integrating pleasure into that practice, what began happening? I mean, there was a lot of resistance at first, like not wanting to do my pleasure practice, and my pussy was really shut down. And then as I started to explore more, and I was like, okay, well, I have to do my homework, right? Like, you have to do your homework. So I would do my pleasure practice and then start to inhale the orgasmic energy that was starting to cultivate in my yoni. And then I would start to inhale that deeply. And, I remember just being flushed with this energy of like serotonin and oxytocin, and I would laugh and just be like, whoa, like this is what I've been missing. And having those little moments just like inspired me to keep going. And so what happened was my body started getting, my mind was still traumatized. There was still trauma in my nervous system. And really breathing that in, it's like you flush yourself with feel-good hormones naturally. And all of a sudden I'm laying there and there's only pleasure.
So when you were describing that, you were saying how you could feel it, you could bring it on, but then somewhere in your body, there was still, some blocks. And also you mentioned some blocks to actually going into your pleasure. So I wondered if you could address, for yourself and for other women, what are some of the blocks that are there that you see the most, and women experience the most to experiencing their pleasure, more pleasure?
So there's a few things there. For one, a woman's body, our yonis need 25 to 45 minutes of foreplay in order to become erect, right? A man's hard on can like happen in seconds and be done within 2 to 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think some women would say it's like multiple times more when they're with a man because with themselves they kind of know
Yeah.
they have more control of the ways of being aroused, whereas with a man it takes longer and there's more. It's more complicated.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's so much different. So
Yeah.
I think that a lot of women haven't really experienced their fullness of pleasure, their full capacity of erogenous, like engorged pleasure.
Mm.
So when something hasn't been activated at its full potential, I think, and then being touched in a way that like just doesn't really do it. Like you might have one orgasm that, it could be like the guy or your lover is down there for like 40 minutes and you're up in your head and you're like, okay, we're almost there. Oh, there it is, right? So you're like chasing that orgasm and your body contracts and you finally have it. And then you're like, okay, he's here, your lover is done. And then you feel less guilty, right? So that's how I used to have sex.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Boy, I'm thinking as you say that and say, yeah, that's kind of how it was the last time.
Yeah, it's
So
very
I'm
common.
dying to hear how it's different. But the other thought I had when you were saying about we haven't experienced the full potential of what we can in terms of pleasure. That it's like a lot of things we just don't know what we don't know.
Exactly.
And especially if you have a history of some kind of trauma and abuse and being shut down,
Yeah,
definitely so many women, right? Like what
totally.
percentage of women have had the sexual abuse or trauma that for sure they're going to have that block to
Yeah.
experiencing the full
So
pleasure.
then there's the resistance of actually going in and touching your pussy.
And what would that resistance be from?
Well, it can be thought forms of like, oh, nah. There's this,
Would
it's
it
like
have anything
maybe,
to do with the Catholic Church? No, I'm kidding.
well, I mean, there's that too. There's
Yeah.
cultural,
I
there's
can say that because
religious.
I can say that because I'm from I was baptized Catholic and a little bit lapsed, but I have respect for it. But in terms of this sexuality, there's a lot of kind of attaching, like it's sinful or something like that.
Oh, for sure. And like maybe when you were a child, you put your hands down your pants and it's like, don't do that.
Hmm.
Right.
Something as
So
simple as that could change you for life, right?
totally.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many things, right? Like if your husband or boyfriend or partner touches you in a way that just doesn't turn you on because they're constantly groping at you to like get something, but you've never had that full experience of sexual pleasure in your entire body, then your body just shuts down. So there is, to actually go and pass that resistance and just say like, I am choosing pleasure. I am choosing to activate myself, even though there's like massive resistance, is a huge act of courage.
Mm.
And
I should quote you on that. What was that? Something choosing pleasure is a huge act of courage.
yeah, it really is.
That's so powerful and true.
So, and also what tends to happen is we like to outsource our love, pleasure. I don't want to call it love because it's pleasure, right? So, as single women, we tend to, a very common thing is like, well, I haven't had sex for so long. And then you meet someone and they light you up and you get all fired up. And then you end up in bed with them. And then the relationship dwindles. And it's like, okay, well, I thought they were the one. So, and then the desire to have someone else, oh, but it's so much better when someone else can do it for me. right? And that's another layer of resistance. It's like, no, go deeper within your own self, claim your pleasure, because I can assure you that you can do yourself to like incredible amounts of pleasure, more than the average man out there.
Well,
And
that
it's
that
our
was the point.
duty.
That was the point I was trying to make earlier. That a lot, kind of in a joking way, but a lot of women would say, about the the in tuneness or lack of
Mhm.
so many men with the woman's
Yoni.
body, and how there's different stages of arousal different than him. And
Mhm.
but having said that, there are a lot of women that don't have that awareness, full awareness either,
Exactly.
of their own body. So I imagine you help them with that. And so I understand why you're so passionate about supporting women in their journey of what you call sexual awakening. And that sounds
Sexual awakening.
wonderful, and all the benefits of that, the blocks. So I wonder, I just want to make sure we get in the practice and the experience. Now, we're not doing anything. People are thinking, ooh, what are we going to do? But, those blocks will be coming up. But I think we're doing something very, very simple that will be comfortable for everyone, and that you can leave us with. And the gift, and then maybe at the end I'll ask for a final takeaway. But this is an experiential gift that you were promising us, I think, Larissa. Are we
Right.
going to be able to experience that?
Yeah. So I'm just going to take you through an orgasmic breathing technique.
Okay.
And this is what I've used to actually heal and regulate my nervous system and move out of survival and really just relax.
What do you mean by that, Larissa? Moving out of survival. I want to survive.
Yeah. So, when we're in survival mode,
Out mode, yeah.
like we're constantly, our body is constricted. And, we've been taught that we need to go do the thing in order to create the abundance, right? So we have to go to work or go find this thing. And what I've experienced is, as my body relaxes, right, the fear arises. It's like, oh shit, I have all these bills. How am I going to pay them? The old me would have been out there frazzled, trying to get, do something to get. And the new me, I literally just lay down, I light candles, I put music on, I breathe as deeply as I can. Depending on the severity of my stress, I will go up to 20 minutes of breath work. And then I will think about, okay, what is my fear? Where did this fear come from?
Mm-hmm.
What do I want to create through this practice? I want to create freedom. I want to create love. I want to create abundance so that I am always supported by the universe.
So you know what you want to go from and what you want
Like
to.
what story is ready to be let go of, right? I was carrying around the story of how my ex-husband wronged me. And I was like, I am not going to go carry that shit around for the next 20 years.
The victim story, right?
Yeah, which is, it can be very unconscious. And yes, we can be victims. I'm not, there's no victim shaming. It's just
But there's a
that.
difference. There's a difference, I guess, between the being a victim, like having something wrong done to
Mhm.
us, and kind of a victim mentality, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there comes a point where it's like, okay, let's drop that story because it's not going to serve me to evolve. Right. So I'll do that, write down, okay, who do I need to forgive? What do I need to forgive within myself? And what is it that I really want? What can I really truly hold? And when we awaken our yonis while doing this breath work, we awaken to the feminine face of God, the feminine energy of God, the goddess, right? The goddess is the creation of the trees, the ocean, the earth. All things are created through the goddess. So when we awaken our pussies, There is absolutely no way that we can't thrive. It is impossible, which is why I'm so incredibly passionate about this work. Because I have gone from homeless, struggling in toxic relationships, not having tools to cope, to being able to be like, take a week off work and relax.
So it's lovely you can do 20 minutes as a practice just to give people an idea of what, would be ideal and work through all the blocks. But in this sample, I think we have like 5 minutes or so.
We're gonna do a 5-minute breath work.
But yeah, something like that. And right. And even then we can feel a bit of it, right?
Totally. Yeah. So I'm going to turn my music on, and I'm just going to ask that for this breath practice, you just relax everything with.
Oh, where's my pillow? Okay.
Yeah. So remember, like, sexual awakening practice is all about pleasure and comfort.
People have to get something, I can get it. Oh. I've got a furry blanket too.
Oh, nice. I love fur, everything.
It's actually faux fur.
Yeah, of course. I wouldn't expect it to be anything other
but it feels like a furry animal. Yeah.
All right, so I'm just gonna put on some nice relaxing music. And we're gonna set the intention to bring beautiful golden light, connecting our hearts and all of those who are listening and all of those who are listening to the recording, to just envision a beautiful golden light surrounding us, holding us with love, with the energies of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. And we're going to set the intention to just really relax and deepen and hold more love throughout our day. So gently just place one hand over your belly and one hand over your womb, just below your belly. And we're going to inhale and exhale through the mouth. Sighing on your exhale so that it activates the polyvagal nerve and begins to remove trauma, emotional, sexual blockages all the way from the base of the skull down to your pelvic floor. I'll turn the music up a little bit louder, and I'll turn the timer on for 4 minutes. Just allowing your breath to come in through the mouth and out the mouth without force. Just gently refilling your body with new life and new energy. Connecting to your sound. Allowing whatever sound your room space wants to hear to come through. Just lovingly sending sound vibrations down to your pelvic floor. Connecting your heart and your yoni with each breath.
Ah.
Just allowing whatever sound needs to come through. And perfectly divine and perfectly beautiful. Finding your voice for your yoni. And we have 1 more minute. You can yawn or move your body.
Hmm.
And now we're going to gently just begin to cross one arm over the other, and gently caress your arms. Just noticing the sensation and the feeling of pleasure on your body. And we're going to begin contracting and releasing the pelvic floor. So just inhaling, contracting your yoni, your pelvic floor muscles, and just releasing, and then contracting and releasing, like pumping them, warming your sexual body, integrating your pussy into your practice. Just notice how good it feels to connect in your body. How beautiful it is, and such an honor to be a goddess, a woman, a life giver. And then you can slowly just bring yourself back. Raise your eyes, bring yourself back. That was a little mini session.
Well, thank you. And as promised, even with this short one, it did wonders for it. I know it did wonders for me. It's like I see how that word awakening is so relevant here. It is like waking up that energy and connecting energy. I think a lot of people try to sort out the difference between well, they talk about sacred sexuality and not knowing what that is. And somehow I think part of it is that connection of the heart with the yoni.
Yeah.
And that's what brings it all together as a fullest experience we can have. So, and I felt that during, just using the breath. And the other thing about breath is, I think sometimes even in our daily life, when we sigh or when we yawn, some natural things, those are our natural ways of using our breath to come back to balance.
Yeah.
And in this practice, you guided us into using that powerful breath in order to transform our energy or, change our energy. Yeah.
Totally. Did you feel a little like fuzzy in your head or tingly throughout your body?
Yeah. I could just feel, those parts awakening and the connections too. And it's definitely, I feel different than I did before. So, and I hope everyone else felt, something as profound. And I wonder, because we are running out of time, and yes, I just wanted to fully express the gratitude for that, because that was a wonderful
My pleasure.
Wonderful.
You can do that anytime.
My pleasure too. Do that anytime. Yeah, that's what's beautiful about it. And we always have our breath to access and our imagination and where we put our attention.
Exactly.
So I wonder, is there any other kind of takeaway of wisdom? I've actually got some quotes that I can use, especially that one that choosing pleasure is a huge act of courage. Any other last word that comes to mind, or does that suffice?
Let me just see. Just, yeah, just really encouraging all of us beautiful yoni owners to really just honor the body. That's all. Just really honor your body and honor yourself.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I honor you for taking that courageous journey so far. I can see how far you've come, and then bringing other women along that same kind of journey.
Speaking of other women, I will offer, like, for my upcoming course, for anybody who's in your group, a very significant discount. So if anybody's interested, you can just reach out.
Okay.
You can do that.
We'll have to pop something in the comments on that then.
Right?
Yeah, and if you're in that group, feel free to do that with the discount link or what they would need.
Yeah, I'll write it in there. All right.
Okay, Larissa. Well, thank you again. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, have a beautiful day, Heather.
You too.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Bye bye.